Podcast 4K, the second coming. I am one of your hosts, Kenny Loggins.
And I am Savannah. I never have a good comeback for that.
I found out something really freaky today at work.
What's that?
Did you know that 1 in 500 children are born without a butthole? Yeah.
Hey.
PSA.
Yeah, it's not something to laugh at because I'm one of those.
I know. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends on Facebook. Statistically, like 5 of those people.
Do you know what it's like growing up learning how to poop out of your mouth? You don't!
They're all named Jenny.
Yeah, so naturally, I had to look further into this. This is my introduction of who I am, by the way. I had to look further into this because then that got me thinking, like, well, what do they do? What's the scientific word for a fake butthole? Because surely they can just make a fake butthole. And I found out they can. They can make a fake butthole. But it's purely for decoration, and that's a quote from the article I read. Because of all the miracles of modern technology and science, we still haven't figured out a way to create a synthetic yet functioning sphincter muscle. So apparently there's people running around with decorative buttholes.
So they have like lights and glitter all over them and probably
So
tassels
how did they
hanging
go
out.
to the bathroom then? Did you read up on that?
Colostomy bag, yeah.
Oh, no.
I was hoping it just falls out, like they have no control and
Poor Jenny's of the world.
they're like goats where they just walk around and it just falls out constantly.
Yes, so yeah, that's a scarily common statistic I found out. Everybody listening or watching this, I mean, you know a lot of people. Statistically, some of those people just haven't told you that they have a fake non-functioning butthole.
Yes, let us know if any of you have a fake non-functioning butthole. And what Kiss album really gets your fake butthole tingling?
I'm gonna start looking up Jenny's and being like, hey.
So at this point, you guys probably wish we haven't come back after 2 weeks. So,
yeah.
But hey, we're here.
Sphincter fixed.
Oh God. So we're back. It's been a few weeks, but we are here to do, what is it? Vinnie Vincent Invasion, their second album, All Systems Go.
Yeah.
As always, though, we've got a lot of stuff to catch up on as far as polls and comments and whatnot, but a few little news tidbits that have popped up in the last few weeks that we weren't able to get to till now. Kiss Cruise is sold out in record time. Also, unfortunately, there is not going to be an Indianapolis Expo this year. Kind of understandable with the tour and everything else going on. But that's always one of the highlights of the year. Kind of sad, but hey, at least we got the concert to look forward to this fall. And then they did say they might possibly try to do like a fall winter type of expo, which would be a first, I guess. But who knows? I mean, I don't really see it happening, but hey, maybe a year away from it is fine. Maybe that's what they need, kind of rejuvenate and with this tour going on and everything. So just gonna find other things to do to take the place of that. Plenty of good concerts coming up, been announced, and a lot of good stuff like that. So there will be things to take the place of the expo this year. I think that's really the only news tidbits that I could think of at the moment. But so let's just get on into catching up with some stuff here.
Indeed. Let's take a look at some comments. We do have a couple of comments here. First one coming from our White Tiger episode, the Peter Criss solo album episode, if you will. We got a comment from Rain in Adamstown, and he says, "This episode was so funny. My neighbor asked, 'Why are you so aggressive?' And I answered, 'Because his name is Michael Rantvold. I love the rants. No wonder, because you had to listen to this album.'"
What?
The rants are the best. There's no doubt about it.
Michael Rantvold?
Yeah, Michael Rantvold, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, yeah. When's the last time I've actually said my name on the podcast? Does anybody know what my name really is?
Jenny. It's definitely Jenny.
It's something Kulik.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Bob.
Yeah.
Bab.
Grammy Kulik.
The next comment, jumping up to Fraley's comment episode, Raining Adams Down Again says, great show, nice tribute to Neil Peart. Roll the Bones is one of my favorite albums, and I also like Presto, A Show of Hands, Grace Under Pressure, Hold Your Fire, and Power Windows. Saw them 4 times during their pop rock time.
Damn it.
The first Fraley's Comet album is a good one, but not his best. The production is fantastic. I have a question. If Dolls were a song by Alice Cooper or King Diamond, wouldn't it be a great creepy horror story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I'm trying to even remember that song at this point.
Yeah, just think the creepiest thing you've ever heard in your life. It's that.
Maybe.
It's really weird that you were talking about that just now because I had the chorus of that stuck in my head at work today. Just the 2 lines.
Of all
And
songs.
I was like, why?
Yeah.
I've only heard it 1 time. Why?
I don't know. I think Alice Cooper, maybe it would fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and Rain agrees. He says, for me, it sounds like Alice Cooper.
Ah.
I give the album a 6.5. 2 or 3 songs are horrible. The top 3 for his votes there were Breakout, Calling to You, and Something Moved. He also says, and a warning, I love Second Sighting.
You know, I was finally starting to just get to the point of like coping better with the whole Neil Peart thing. And then today I have to go and watch the Time Stand Still documentary, and it like totally crushed me again.
Oh.
Like, because the things they're talking about in there, and it's like, oh my God, looking at it in hindsight now, it's like, geez.
Yeah.
You know, they were showing the last show, and you know all these people in the crowd crying and everything. I'm like, and then of course I can't help but think of Kiss. I'm like, that's what it's going to be like on the last Kiss show, and probably even when we go in September, we're going, yeah. So it kind of like completely crushed me all over again. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a really young picture of them on Facebook earlier while I was scrolling. It was from their page because they're doing that reissue, the 40th
Yes.
reissue, and it was a era appropriate picture of the 3 of them, and I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah.
They look so.
Oh, and then not to mention they actually did talk a little about Kiss in that documentary, and it was mainly about Ace, which it was really funny. Because I remember reading about that in the book. There was this. I don't want to get too much off track here, but there was this little character that Alex Lifeson used to do called the Bag, where he'd take a brown paper bag, draw some goofy face, and then he'd make like holes in his on his knees where his pants on his holes where the knees go in the pants, and then he would stick his hands through them, and that was like his character, and he'd go around whatever. But Ace evidently was like tickled to death with that character, like he always loved it, and they were doing these like Ace impressions, like, hey, do the bag, and it was pretty funny, a little part of that documentary. I did get a good smile out of that part, but yeah,
Good.
pretty cool.
Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah. Couple comments. Maybe even a few comments here on the Black Sabbath Eternal Idol episode. I kind of forget if I've read a couple of these, so we'll just go through all of them again. Why not? We've got a comment from Rain in Adamstown on this episode. He says, The Eternal Idol is another great album. I want this straight Eric Singer drums on a Kiss album. Heavy. There's also another word after heavy. Nation. As I said before, yes, yeah. I love Tony Martin. This man was brilliant on the Cross Purposes and Tear Tours. I give the Eternal Idol a 9. His top 3 for this album were Born to Lose, The Shining, and Ancient Warrior. He also notes the album Headless Cross is even better. Yes, still need to listen to the rest of the Tony Martin era albums.
Yeah.
Definitely good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, again, all this Rush and Kiss stuff is tying together. Someone posted a picture of Eric's kit the other day, and on the front of his kick head, he's got a little sticker of the Starman of Rush as like a tribute on there. And not to mention, I know this has nothing to do with Kiss, but I don't care. It's cool news. Primus is going on tour this summer, and they're performing the entire Rush album, A Farewell to Kings. That is going to be super awesome. I don't want to miss it. I don't care if you don't like it that it's not Kiss related, but it's cool music news and Rush related in general. So
yeah,
there you go.
Very unexpected.
Mm-hmm. But apparently they've been discussing it for like the last year. It's not like they just decided to do it to cash in on Neil's death or anything.
It'd be interesting to hear them play some of those Rush songs and fairly early ones. That's
yeah.
Here's one of the ones I don't remember if I've read or not. This is from Just That Vinyl, our friend Corey. He says, this is in reference to the Eternal Idol album again. I agree it's a 10. The 80s production did bury the bass.
Yep. Not uncommon, though, for the 80s, honestly.
I don't seem to remember that comment, so yeah. Yeah, again, typical 80s, standards at that time.
And it's so sad, too, because, I mean, there were some great bassists in the 80s, that just, their talent got buried so much,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of that had to do with some of the 80s bass players were definitely not up to par. That was
right.
the era of just playing the root note on quarter notes, and so therefore the part was just so unimportant.
Yeah.
Why need it loud? And then
Yeah.
that became like a standard for mixing for a little while.
Yeah, it was almost like a staple for a long time.
Yeah.
That's just how you did things.
Yeah, and then you had guys like Cliff Burton and Rudy Sarzo and Geezer and those kind of guys. Billy Sheehan, goes on and on.
Yep, absolutely. We've also got a comment from Jay Rucker on that episode. He says, I give Live Plus One an 8.5 because it's my personal favorite live EP, mainly because there's not much to choose from. The only fact I could find is the album went to number 84 in the US. He says, I don't own this actual album, but I do have the version from Record Store Day, the Ace Live Plus from Live Plus 4.
Mm-hmm.
His top three were Breakout, Rocket Ride, and Rip It Out. So got all that taken into account and put in where it goes. Oh, somebody sent me a message. Message. All right. So no comments yet on the Live Plus One episode. We'll wait a little bit longer to see if anything pops up on there.
Yeah, it's only been 2 weeks. Come on, people.
Yeah, jeez. We do have a comment on the Facebook post of that episode from Steve McGowan, of course. Again, nice to see that top fan thing on there. I smile a little bit every time I see that. I'm glad Facebook added that. It's a weird little thing that you wouldn't think means that much, but no, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Steve has given us his and Rochelle's picks for All Systems Go. Steve gave this album a 5 out of 10, and his top three were Burn, That Time of Year, and Love Kills. He also notes, not sure why they edited a couple of verses out on the remastered version. Copyright reasons, maybe? I had read about that on the Wikipedia, but I don't think Wikipedia says why. It just says that some of it's edited. I'm not sure what the deal is with that.
May have just been another Vinnie thing where he just randomly decided he didn't like it all of a sudden. And
Right.
Cut these out.
Yes. Rochelle also ranked this a 5 out of 10, and her top three were Heavy Pettin', That Time of Year, and Love Kills. Knock those out. All right, so how about the polls, eh?
Ah, yes. There were some real doozies over the last couple weeks, and then some really good ones that just went up today.
Yep.
Let's see. What are the last ones we've even talked about here? I've kind of lost track a little bit.
Heart of Chrome and Creatures of the Night were in the last one, I think.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense. So we've got a couple polls that are done now. We can talk about a little bit. King of the Mountain versus Modern Day Delilah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. King of the Mountain won that one with 63% of the vote. Nice to see an 80s Kiss song winning out.
Yeah.
We also had Living in Sin versus I Just Wanna, which was kind of an interesting match. We did have quite a few comments asking why in the world these two were put up against each other, because what a joke. And again, the answer is it's random.
Yep. Completely random.
Yes. None of this was premeditated.
For the fifth time, if in case you've missed it, we didn't, or Luke didn't sit here and strategically put songs up against each other. It's completely random, 100%.
Of course, I Just Wanna won that one with a 77%. We also had Take It Off versus Dark Light, which I found to be an interesting one. Take It Off ended up winning with a 61%. And while that is the one I voted for as well, I was surprised Dark Light didn't put up a little bit more of a fight.
Yeah, totally, man. That's the one I had to give the edge to. Dark Light.
Yeah. Last week's posted definitely had some interesting ones. Not sure I was surprised by any of the results, but I wasn't really upset either. We had Love Theme from Kiss versus Fanfare. Yeah, I must have just needed like an even number of songs or something. Fanfare on its own. It is an interesting mashup for the fact that both of them are instrumental tracks, and I mean, how often does Kiss do an instrumental track? And again, not premeditated, that was totally random. Of course, Love Theme, 71% of the vote there. That would have been kind of silly for Fanfare to win, considering it's a minute and a half long.
Yeah.
How funny would that have been?
That would have been great.
It goes on and win the whole entire thing.
I would go for it.
Best Kiss song ever, Fanfare.
I think if I were Paul and Gene at that point, I'd call it quits immediately. You're telling us the best song we ever wrote was one Bob Ezrin did, just kind of as an offshoot.
And it's only a minute and a half long.
Yeah. We also had Danger versus 2000 Man. 2000 Man won this one with 54%, and while I'm not surprised by that, Danger is one of my favorite Kiss songs. However, I am satisfied that it put up a pretty fair fight.
Right. I mean, as much as I love Creatures, I don't know, 2000 Man's always kind of had a little special place in my heart, so just had to give it that edge.
Yeah. Yep. There was a lot of discussion in the comments on that one, too. People on both sides saying that 2000 Man is boring, and there were some
Why'd you put these songs up against each other?
Yeah, of course. There was a lot of people saying, I don't even like the Stones version of 2000 Man, which, yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer the Kiss version, but I don't think the Stones version is horrible. But
then for our joke of the week, we had Speeding Back to My Baby versus I Finally Found My Way. Which, yeah, kind of knew which one was going to go there. And I've always liked Speeding Back to My Baby, even for not being a huge Ace fan. I've always liked that song a lot.
If Finally Found My Way was up against like Modern Day Delilah, I would have picked Finally Found My Way, probably.
I really don't hate I Finally Found My Way. I don't like it near as much as I like practically any other Kiss song. But it is good for what it is,
Yeah, I mean, vocally, I think it's better, especially that little harmony part, that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a bridge or something.
Yeah, definitely. But as it goes, and completely unsurprisingly, Speeding Back to My Baby wins that with 96% of the vote.
It never even had a chance.
Yeah, definitely making Finally Found My Way our worst loser so far, with a measly 4%. I think True Confessions maybe got 5% of its vote. So,
Luke, didn't you say that you were going to need a tiebreaker at the end of the rounds completely?
Yeah, we're going to need a tiebreaker for round 2. So there will be a chance for a song that lost in round 1 to come back at the end of round 2. But that's going to be determined by which songs got the most percentage of
I think
the
you
votes
should do
but
the
still
least
lost.
percentage so it has a fighting chance, maybe.
We'll probably do a special poll that has like the top 5 losers, and then the winner of that poll will get a second chance or something like that.
And then it turns around and loses by with 5% again all over.
If even that, yeah. Hey guys, which song do you like better, Strutter or I Finally Found My Way?
Is that all the polls?
Except for the ones that just got posted today.
Okay.
Our first one that posted today, I think, might be one of the most interesting ones of all of them. Into the Void versus New York Groove.
Yeah, yeah.
So, a couple of Ace classics there. I personally do not like New York Groove, so my vote definitely was for Into the Void there.
Yes.
We also have Bang Bang You up against Calling Dr. Love.
Yeah, that's going to be a landslide.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. I like Bang Bang You, but even I had to give that one to Dr. Love.
Yeah.
And then our last one, Strutter versus I. So again, I'm dead sure Strutter's going to win that, but
Yeah, it's probably going to be an interesting matchup, though.
yeah.
Yep.
Probably be a fighting chance.
I'll be very curious to see some of the comments, arguing any of those, especially I. Elder fans come out in force. Let's hear it.
There was something I ran across earlier. It was like this little list of maybe, I don't know, 5 to 8 Kiss related, this or this, kind of reminded me of the poll thing. And I think it was Sonny over at Podcast Rock City posted it. So I'm not trying to like steal their thunder with it because they're probably going to end up talking about the whole thing. But one of them that stuck out to me was the Peter Criss 78 solo album or Gene Simmons' Asshole. Which one do you pick?
Oh, Peter Criss.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. That was my choice, too.
Yeah. The first, I haven't been a fan of really either of the later solo albums we've reviewed in the Second Coming. And I mean, the Peter Criss solo album isn't something that I'm going to choose to put in most days. But again, for what it is, I think it's great.
Absolutely. I'm still dreading the day that we get to the Gene Simmons Asshole album to have to listen to it. Because I always told myself I never would, but I will for the sake of this.
Yeah.
Me and Luke were at Walmart recently, and they had 2 of those, those little pop figures.
Yeah.
They had a Gene and an Ace.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then they have these little, they're love gun figures.
They're like little pins.
They're like little pins that stand, and they were really cool, but they're like almost $20 a piece.
I saw Gino posted a picture of that earlier.
Yeah.
I was wondering what those
really
were.
Cool, yeah. They're really neat looking. They're just like these little figure. I think they just stand. They're like little pins that just stand up. And they're really cool, but I don't know if they're $20 a piece cool.
I don't know.
I mean,
yeah. They'll be 50 a piece at the expo.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I don't know, especially being that it's the love gun. That's pretty cool. It makes me want to buy them.
Yeah.
But those pops, those Funko Pops, that's actually the second version of Kiss that they've put out. And apparently the first ones are actually kind of pricey now. They're fairly rare and hard to find.
They're like collector's editions?
Yeah, so I'm sure these new ones are going to be the same way. I'd like to get them. I'm not really a big pop collector, but I get certain ones here and there.
Right. If I see one that's really cool, I'll get them. Like my sister last year got me there was an Alice in Wonderland set that she got me last year. But yeah, when I seen them, if I would have had the extra money, I probably would have got them just because I thought they were really cool.
Yeah. I'd like to get those. I'd like to get that Rush. They put a Rush set out with all 3. And
yeah. That's
getting a tad bit pricey now, too. And
right.
I'd like to get that. All right. Let's go on into some info here. Might refresh our memories a little bit about this album.
Yeah. So All Systems Go is the second and final studio album by the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. This album was released May 17th, 1988. This is the first and only Invasion album to feature Mark Slaughter on vocals, who replaced Robert Fleischman. Um, I think he actually replaced Robert on the tour for the first album, because I'm not sure Fleischman really performed with them that much.
Yeah, he replaced him even for the music videos.
That's right.
So he's like lip syncing the Fleischman stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. From what we can tell, it seems like the Invasion did record, or at least make attempts at recording a third album or an EP or something beyond this, but this was the last official release. The band basically broke up at the end of the tour for this album. They just weren't going anywhere. They were headlining little tiny clubs and stuff like that. This album was produced by Vinnie Vincent and Dana Strum, just like the last album, and sounds pretty good for that. Let's see if I can figure out what the deal was with the edits that we were talking about. Yeah, no, it says on the 2003 remastered CD version, the running time for Love Kills is 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Various parts of Vinny's solo, as well as even some verses, have been shortened by either cutting out a couple bars of music or lines of lyrics, but it doesn't say why. Very strange.
See, again, like I can't recall if Bobby Rock talks about that in his book or not as to why. Yeah. And again, I know I plugged it on the last Vinny episode, but we weren't asked to. But again, check out Bobby's book. It's a really good read. Very interesting. So.
Definitely. And a very nice dude. That year he was at the expo.
Very cool, man. And he's actually going to be here in town this summer. Alice Cooper, Tesla, and Lita Ford. So Bobby's going to be in town playing with her.
Nice. Huh. Yes. Personnel for this album, mostly the same as the first album. We got Mark Slaughter on lead vocals, Vinnie Vincent lead guitar and backing vocals, Dana Strum on bass guitar and backing vocals, and Bobby Rock on the drums. Also, interestingly, we have Jeff Scott Soto on backing vocals, which some of you may recognize. He was the lead vocalist for Journey for a little while and currently fronts Sons of Apollo, Mike Portnoy's band.
Yes, I believe they just put a new album out too, right?
They did, yeah. Definitely killer stuff. He's got a great voice.
Yep.
Going on tour and everything, I believe, too. So. Is that it?
I think so.
All right. No singles this time.
No. Apparently, Love Kills was featured on the soundtrack for Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
I don't recall that, but kind of vaguely seems familiar, yeah. Because, of course, it was, I think it was part 3, was Dokken, that Dream Warriors song.
Yes, it's one of my favorite Dokken.
All right, so again, please keep in mind, it's been 2 weeks probably since we listened to this originally, so
yeah.
I know I for sure don't really remember much about these songs, but thankfully we took these notes at the time, so we will trust our instincts at that time.
Yeah.
So track number 1 is Ashes to Ashes. I gave this one my number 3, so pretty cool opener. We get a weird reverse guitar and lyrics. Naturally, I had to go in and reverse it to see what they were saying, and it says, "Memories of you never fade away." Then the song starts, and surprisingly to me, it kind of had a AC/DC sort of a vibe to the riff at first. Noticeably different sound of this album from the first album. You can definitely hear that unmistakable voice of Slaughter, which he sounds great throughout the whole album. And nice to not hear a swarm of angry bees right off the bat. Cool little acoustic breakdown section too, and again, just a pretty solid opener to the album.
Yep. This was my number 2. And I said that it was a weird intro with the backwards vocals, but it was unique how they did that. Because usually when they do backwards vocals, it's not at the very beginning opening an album, you know.
Right.
To me, though, it kind of reminded me of a Led Zeppelin kind of style to it. The chorus of the song was great, and I feel like they layered it just right. It wasn't too much, but it also wasn't like not enough. There was the cool acoustic thing that you mentioned behind the third verse. That was really cool. I wasn't a fan of the solo in this song though, because I felt like it was really all over the place. It wasn't very flowing or smooth, but it was a great opener for the album for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as surprised as anyone to report this is my number one. I'm glad you guys brought up the backwards vocals because I noted interesting way to start the album and totally forgot why I put that. Must have been the backwards vocals. But it definitely caught my interest. Like you guys said, what a weird way to start. You don't hear that sort of stuff. Right away, liked the production. Way better than the first album where the guitars were just like piercingly loud.
Yeah.
This everything was much more mixed. Everything felt better. Really liked that chorus. I liked the cool, clean break in the middle. I kind of liked the guitar solo. I didn't. It wasn't the greatest thing I'd ever heard, but I liked how it started kind of jazzy and then just suddenly balls to the walls. And then, of course, Bobby Rock. Bobby Rock's not screwing around right away. First
Right.
part of the
Yeah.
nice.
All right. Next up, we have Dirty Rhythm, and this is my number 10. Said, man, Slaughter is just really in that high register on this song. But other than that, this is just one that felt pretty straightforward to me. Definitely high energy, though. Just nothing much that was really sticking out to me on this one.
Yeah, I was the same way. This was my number 9. I didn't really have a whole lot of notes for this one, but man, them lyrics in this song, it may have been the top 5 in my top 5 corniest lyrics I've ever heard. I was just like, what am I listening to? And I think that's why I just didn't really have much to say about this song. I wasn't as big of a fan of this one as I was the first one. It was kind of just like I couldn't focus on anything else but his lyrics, and they were just cracking me up. I was like, this is the corniest thing I've ever heard in my life. But that was about all I had to say about that.
I think I just kind of zoned them out or something because
Yeah.
This also my number 9. I liked the feel of it, but yeah, the lyrics just so weird, and I don't know what was with the weird sound effects. Could have done without that. And then, yeah, at this point, I was going back and forth on whether I liked Mark Slaughter's vocals or not.
Right. Okay, next up is Love Kills, number 8 for me. Kind of a ballad here. I really like the fact, though, that, so far this album sounds more like a band effort and not a Vinnie shred fest with a backing band behind him.
Right, yeah.
So far it's, definitely keeping my attention for the most part.
This one was also my number 8. And I noted that it's been a while since we've heard a ballad on the past few albums that we've done. There hasn't been any. But it was pretty typical for a ballad from the 80s. But his vocals were kind of out of place in this song. I think I would have enjoyed more listening to Paul Stanley or David Coverdale sing this song. I think would have been a better fit vocally for it. I don't think he did a bad job at all. It just kind of seemed out of place a little bit. Maybe with the way that he was doing things and stuff. I can't really remember exactly now off the top of my head, but I remember at the time thinking, man, Paul would have sounded great singing a song like this. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's the only reason why it was so low for me was just because I felt like his vocals were a little out of place on it.
It's funny you say that because, maybe, who knows, maybe Vinny tried to bring this song to Paul at one point.
Right, yeah. It could be, yeah.
My number 6 on this one. I liked the interesting chord structure in it, and the two biggest things that I really appreciated about this song was that it seemed kind of on the surface as a typical 80s ballad, but they did it in a cool, different way that didn't quite make it typical. You know what I mean? There's a lot
Yeah,
of stuff.
Yeah.
like again, it wasn't like your typical cheesy type of ballad, but
Right. Yeah.
compared to everything else on there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing, which was pretty much one of the main complaints on the last Invasion album, that this completely rectified, was that it was so great to hear Vinnie play just a great feel-based solo on this. It wasn't just a massive flurry of notes.
Yeah.
Right.
It was extremely appropriate and very well done.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Next is Naughty Naughty. Number 9 for me. Really catchy chorus on this one, and we get our first like shred solo from Vinny. So I'm assuming at this point it was more of his what you kind of expected to hear from Vinny type of solo instead of what he had done on these previous songs.
Yep. This one was my number 7. I feel like his vocals sounded very much like Vince Neil in this song. He definitely had a Motley Crue vibe thing going with the way he was singing and stuff. And yeah, the solo in this song, I liked it a lot. Like this is for me so far listening to the album, this was the best one for me because it was a lot more shreddy but it wasn't over the top. It wasn't like, oh, there's Vinny. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty good. Like I liked it. Yep.
Yep. Number 5 on this one. I felt like the background vocals in this one, they reminded me kind of Def Leppard sort of thing. I liked them. They had that sort of ultra layered Mutt Lange sound like AC/DC had, and like albums like Pyromania and Hysteria had in the Def Leppard stuff. Of course, it was a big 80s thing there, so not super surprised to hear it. Yeah, and I noted the guitar solo too. It was definitely more typical of Vinny, but it still felt appropriate within the context.
Right.
Right. By the way, did you see Def Leppard's going on their own tour after they're done with all that stadium crap?
Yeah, that with ZZ Top even.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Next up is Burn. This is number 4 for me. Very solid track here. We get some good standout drum fills from Bobby. As the song fades, there's a noticeable bit of silence, which I thought was odd because obviously, the side of the album wasn't over yet. But then we suddenly get another reverse vocal piece. So of course, again, I had to flip it, and it says, "Hey, tell your friends about us," with a drawn out S there. Kind of another weird, interesting thing to put in there, but okay.
Yeah. This was my number 3. I love the way this one started. That vocal screech was insane that he did at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Could not like I looked at Luke and I said, is he screaming? Like, is that a vocal thing? And he's like, yeah. I was like, that is insane how he did that. The chorus, it was a little weird, but the rhythm and the tempo, they were very fast. I was moving the whole time I was listening to this one. And this solo too was better than the few in the beginning as well, I thought. And the ending was just as good as the beginning. This one was from beginning to end was great. Yeah, I liked it. I liked this one a lot. It was a good for it being like kind of like the middle of the album. It kept the flow. It kept your attention. It didn't make you kind of go, okay, I'm done with this now and turn it off. So I definitely like this one a lot.
Yeah, because at this point of the album, I felt like it was starting to gain more momentum for me.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely had my attention.
Burn was 8 for me. Yeah, holy crap, that vocal note at the beginning. And then to follow it up with that ridiculous drum fill.
Yeah.
Sheesh. The thing that killed this one for me and put it kind of low was, for some reason, the background vocals saying burn over and over. I don't know why that got annoying and it hit me wrong. But then the harmonies on the line following when they were saying burn, I like that a lot. But yeah, just didn't catch me because of that.
Yeah, it did get a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Let Freedom Rock. That is number 5 for me. This one definitely, again, had me from the start of it. It just had that riff and energy that just grabs your attention. But then, like, what was again? What was the weird thing at the end? It sounded like Donald Duck or something. I have no
Yeah.
clue what that was either. But who thought that was a good idea? But again,
Yeah.
just totally caught you off guard. So
This one was my number 6, and it's number 6. So,
uh,
um, it's very fast paced. It's an in your face kind of song. I feel like this is the kind of song like if you had a metal Fourth of July party, this is the song you would play. You know,
yes,
it's definitely like the anthem song of the album. Which I mean, for the '80s as well, there was usually always an anthem song. Like this is, about rocking and rolling, or something along those lines. Like this was definitely that kind of anthem feel, and it's definitely the kind of song you would play if you were trying to get people hyped and pumped up for like a party or something for sure. I liked it. Yeah.
I do feel like I vaguely remember thinking that as I listened to it, like, oh, this would go on a good playlist for that because every year I'm like, oh, I want to put together a cool like Fourth of July play, and then it never happens. And I
Right.
never have anything to make one for anyway. So
Just remember this song for it.
yes,
Yeah.
nothing says Fourth of July like Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 7 on this one for me. I liked. It was really weird because I liked his version of the anthem and I liked the song. Especially his note choices for the national anthem were really neat. The way the harmonies were and everything. But two things killed this one and put it really low for me. One was the constant fade in effect on all the notes on the anthem. Didn't like that. Just freaking play it. Yeah. And I don't know why they didn't find a way to bridge the song to the anthem somehow, which would have made it feel like this is why the anthem is here. It goes with the song. But
Right.
instead, there was this really weird break between the two. And
Hmm.
that it made it feel to me like it should have been two separate songs. They
I
should have
agree.
the anthem as its own track. And it made it just kind of weird. But having said that, both the anthem, it was a cool version, and the song itself was pretty good.
Yeah, totally. So next is That Time of Year, and this is my number 11. So I'm, yeah, least favorite on the album. Another ballady song, again, not in that sappy type, but just a good overall melodic song. Some cool harmonies going on in there. Um, but again, just after those last couple tracks, I wasn't ready to turn around and hear something, so laid back right away after two, heavy, straightforward songs.
Right. We're opposite this time. Usually we're pretty like close with our votes, but this was my number 1.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, this is the type of beginning for a ballad that I love. It's very strong with the emotion and the passion behind the music. I felt everything about this ballad I loved. The chorus was strong, and the feeling in it was amazing. The solo, and it was kind of layered, and I loved that. And the held out note and the fade out was good for the song. I usually don't. I'm more like Luke when it comes to fade outs. I'm not really a big fan of them, but I think it really actually worked for this one because it kind of faded off, but it helped you keep the feeling of it. I think a fade out was a good song, a good choice for this song.
Yeah. As long as it's not the end of the album, it's like,
Right.
fade outs are all right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's not every song and it's not the end of the album, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and number 2 for me on this one actually, I liked the feel of it, and I determined I liked this one a little bit better than Love Kills as far as a ballady sort of way. It's a little more typical as ballads go, but it is well done. And then again, the solo, Vinny just freaking nails it on the solo,
Yeah.
which I think is a big reason this one got up my list.
All right. Next up is Heavy Pettin'. This is my number 6. This was the one song I definitely remember going into on this album. Um, Good old dirty rock and roll type of song. I guess this was probably the closest thing to a single, I guess you can call, and probably the more well known song at least among all the fans. But yeah, just kind of in the middle of the road for me though. There was definitely other things on this album that caught me more, surprised me more, and you know kind of went in thinking, okay, this is probably gonna be my number one, but thankfully, I was surprised by other things.
Yep, this one is my number 4. Um, I put that again. The lyrics are a little corny, but I liked them. It was the common song about the perfect woman who just blows your mind. It had a very nice flow to it, a rhythm. The solo was just a little overplayed, I feel. Um, and then he did this like little breathy thing at the end, and I thought that was going to be the end of it, but then it just kept on going. It wasn't bad. Like I thought it was going to end, and then like when it kept going, I was like, oh okay, like that's cool. Like it wasn't weird like that. It didn't end there. Like it was kind of cool that it was a little bit surprising because I thought it was going to end with that little weird breathy thing that he did, and then it was like, nope, I'm going to keep going. So it was pretty cool. I liked it.
I don't remember that. What was it?
I can't remember now. I remember thinking it at the time.
What was he like?
Yeah, it was like a weird little like breath thing that he did, and then like it stopped
He started
for a
beatboxing.
couple seconds. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to listen to it again now to pinpoint exactly what it was I was talking about. I kind of remember it as I was reading about it, but then I was like, I can't remember for sure exactly what it was that he did.
This one is actually my number 11. I just did not care for it. Just right off the bat, I noted not sure about this one. The background vocals definitely not hitting me right on this one. I liked the guitar riff, but just overall, meh.
Right. Next, we have Ecstasy. This is my number one. I said, wow, the vocals on this track are amazing and really made me pay attention. Slaughter at the beginning, and, not trying to make a joke here, really almost sounded like a woman. Like the notes he was hitting were just amazing. Great harmonies throughout as well. Even though this one is probably more technically a ballad than the other two that I called ballads, I consider this one more of an epic song that has some soul to it. And that being said, I definitely want to go back and listen to this song again since I've kind of forgotten, you know, how it sounded at this point. But yeah, just really, you know, really surprised me, caught me off guard, and you know, that's what I love when we do these episodes.
Right. Again, we're complete opposite because this was my number 11.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like it was literally complete opposite with our number 1 and our number 11. Uh, I put another ballad. It is surprising that there's so many ballads. Like even for an '80s album, there's usually one or two, and this one had a lot. This album, I guess we're making up for not having any for a while. I was just I just don't think this one hit me right. It just struck me in the wrong way. I think I was not a fan of it. I feel like it was too much lyrically and musically, and I just feel like they were trying to make it more grand than it really was. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I feel like it was just so out of place for what we had heard so far on this album. Like, I just don't think it fit at all. Like, with the style that they had gone for the rest of this album, and then this one was just so out there that it did not strike me in the right way at all. I was like, I'm not, I just can't, I can't with this. Like, I told Luke, I said, for me, this one is almost as bad as the Doll song from the Ace Frehley album. Like it just did not strike me
Come
right.
on.
Maybe if I listen to it again, like I could grow
Jeez.
to like it, but I did not like it.
I just got to keep thinking White Tiger 10, White Tiger 10.
Oh right, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I know.
There's your problem.
I think that's why this song caught me so much, is because it was unexpected, and
Right.
the vocal stuff in there with those harmonies, it just has that soul factor to it that just gets you. and
Yeah.
it's more than just being catchy. It's like, oh, you like really feel it in your soul and
Right. I'd
does
be
something.
interested to go back now that it's been a couple of weeks
Yeah,
and re-listen to it again to see if maybe it would strike me in a different way. But I
right.
remember at the time thinking I do not like this at all. But I mean, I would listen to it again now that I've kind of gone a couple of weeks without hearing it to see if maybe it would strike me in a different way.
Right, absolutely.
Because I'd be definitely willing to give it another shot. Just to see if maybe it would hit me differently. I'd
Yeah,
be interested to see that. I'm gonna have to do that. I'll
yeah,
let you know how it goes next week.
yeah. I want to hear it again just to remind myself why I liked it so much.
Right?
Same,
Yeah.
Yeah. This was my number 3. The vocals at the beginning of this one actually kind of reminded me of Timothy Schmidt from the Eagles.
Oh my God! Wow. Maybe that's another reason it caught me so much.
Yeah,
Because God, that dude's voice too. Mm,
yeah, exactly. And that reminded me again. Not only did I have that noted, but what you said about it too, where he almost sounds like a lady.
yeah,
And that's an interesting thing about Timothy Schmidt's voice too. Kind of the same, that
yeah,
they're able to go way up in the stratosphere and just make it sound completely natural.
yeah. Amazing.
Yes, this one very very 80s. This one, but I mean, still very good. The background vocals, especially, just right on cue, hitting the mark. I did note that I also was a little surprised to hear a third ballad on the album, but yeah, I really did enjoy that one.
Yeah,
Maybe the most different song on the entire album.
For sure.
yeah. And again, these weren't the days of all this heavy auto tuning and stuff. This guy was doing those notes, and
Yeah, you really had to do that.
yeah.
Right.
All right, so two more tracks here. Next up is Deeper and Deeper. This is my number 7. Probably the best Vinny solo on this album, in my opinion, on this one. Slaughter just never lets up. At the beginning of the song tells you anything, which I don't recall now, but again, I'll have to listen. Um, Probably just another powerful vocal intro if I kind of remember right. But yeah, so going strong still.
Um, this one was my number 10. Is this the one that was jazzy?
I don't remember.
Don't
I
know.
feel like this is the one that kind of sounded.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
jazz. Yeah,
because I put on there that I feel like this song has a completely different style from the whole rest of the album, and I think that was why, because it was kind of jazzy sounding.
I
I
thought the
put
last song had a whole different feeling.
yeah,
Yeah,
I put that it doesn't have the same kind of groove and feel to it as the others, and I do remember though that it just dragged on. I didn't think it was going to end. It just kept going and going. I
That's
thought,
why we've been gone 2 weeks. We've been waiting for this song, man.
right,
yeah.
exactly. Like I remember thinking that, like,
We
okay,
just now finished it before.
yeah, I just finished it before we started. Like,
More like longer and longer. Am I right?
yeah,
Deeper and deeper.
that's right. In time.
Yes. Also, my number 10. I didn't really have anything bad to say about this one, though. Cool intro, super unexpected. No clue what I noted that for. I don't remember. I like the little breakdown type thing in the middle, the guitar riff and the drum fill. I'm sure they were awesome. I don't remember.
Just think of a cool drum fill, and that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Oh man! So we come to the last song. Breakout, not to be confused with Fraley's Comet. No, not anywhere near that song. This is my number 2. We start this one off with what sounds like kind of a battlefield, and song goes into what is probably kind of more thrashy in terms of the rest of this album. But man, this song is a smoker. We get some double bass from Bobby, some more sick solos from Vinny as well. And hey, we get that definitive ending to an album, but then yet again, there's some more silence. And then once again we get that, hey, tell your friends about us message, except this time it's normal, not reversed. So yeah, just another smoking and song, especially to take the album out. And again, I wasn't expecting that, and just that's another one I'd like to listen to again.
Yep. This one was my number 5. Um, I put that it took too long to get going, but once it did, I mean, it was heavy, and that drum beat, it was nonstop, and it was a good thing. Like, that was a great way that it just, I mean, it was the whole time. You definitely could hear the bass in this song. The bass was insane in this song, um, and especially during the solo. I mean, you could hear it real good during the solo. Um, it finally had a solid ending. No fade out, and the ending song saved it from being an end failure, is what I said. And by I mean, like, how every album we review always has the fade out, and that's like an end failure. Like, stop doing
Yeah.
that. Just solidly end it. I was so happy when it ended. I was like, hallelujah. Like, finally, it's a solid ending. I was so happy.
As soon as
But
I heard that, I knew you guys were going to be happy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I mean, it was, yeah, this one was, I mean, it was hard hitting through the whole thing. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Number 4 for this one. Um, all right. What a titty happened at the beginning. And I'm saying both because I noted that, and also because I really don't remember. Uh, I am glad to hear an upbeat one end the album. Man, Bobby Rock especially killed it on that song. The double bass you mentioned just really shines. The bit going into the chorus of this one kind of reminded me of "I've Had Enough" Into the Fire too from Animalize.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to listen again because I kind of forget what made me recognize, but I remember thinking that as well as having noted it that it reminded me of that.
Almost as though he was writing that in response,
Yeah.
like when I could have done.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that brings us to the end of the album here. So overall, I give the album a 4, and only because Ecstasy and Breakout were the two songs that saved it for me. Again, I like the different sound on the album and the fact that it actually felt like a band effort instead of a Vinnie effort. I definitely prefer Slaughter's vocals over Fleischman's, not taking anything away from Fleischman,
Yep.
but just prefer Slaughter, uh, who, by the way, still sounds great. He was there at the expo a couple years ago, or last year, whatever it was. I wish I can remember more of what Bobby Rock said about this time in the recording process in his book. It seemed that the band was on the verge of really becoming a big thing, and then it all just fell apart. Um, Again, just a really good listen though. There wasn't anything I hated at all. There wasn't anything that I was just like, oh god, this is horrible. It sucks. It was definitely tolerable. Everything was listenable. Although it did lose my attention at a few times, but it was just, it still wasn't like, oh god, it lost my attention because it sucks or anything.
Right.
Uh, Solid guitar, great vocals, solid drumming, nice clean production. Give it a listen. Um, yeah, I kind of wanted to give it a little bit higher than a 4, but it honestly probably would have been a little less had it not been for those two songs surprising me like that.
Um, yeah, this one I gave a 3 out of 10 on this one. And I mean, overall, the album, it definitely had a lot of ups and a lot of downs for me, both. Like, there wasn't anything really bad, but there also wasn't anything superly, like, I just felt like it was kind of riding the okay line for me. And none of the songs were bad, but they just weren't impressive either. I wasn't really overly impressed by any of it, really. Um, it was hard to understand what he was singing most of the time. Like, I was reading the lyrics along with him, and I could understand it as long as I was reading along. But if I stopped paying attention, it just kind of he muddles a lot of his words, I think. But he's fantastic. His capabilities are insane. With what he can do with his voice and stuff, like, it's crazy.
Mm.
I just wish it would have been a little bit more clear, some of the things he was saying, so I could have understood him a little bit better. But the drumming, that may have been, for me, one of the better parts of the album. It was solid, it was clear, you know. I found myself focusing more on that, you know. Um, I wish that I could say that Vinny's playing was my favorite part of this album, but I mean, there were some great solos and rhythms and stuff, but I was kind of disappointed that they weren't better, you know, for Vinny being, because he's great. I mean, he's a great guitar player. When he was in Kiss, I mean, that was insane, some of the stuff that he could do, and I love that. And I mean, I was just kind of disappointed that his solos weren't a little bit better on this one. I feel like the last album he kind of overdid it on, and this one he didn't quite do enough. You know, he kind of fell back a little bit, I feel like. But I do like it better, like you said, that it's more like a band thing, and he wasn't like trying to overshine. You know, I did like that, but I kind of wish he would have broke out a little bit more, you know, and kind of taken the stage a little bit, you know, more at different points. But yeah, so I think that's the only reason why I gave it kind of a low score, was because I wish he would have been more active on it, you know, with his solos and stuff. I wish I could have pinpointed that I like that the most, you know. But the drumming is what stuck out most to me on this album, for sure.
Yeah, it was like he had more freedom to do what he wanted this time instead of kind of being sort of told what to play on the last one. And
Right, yeah.
that whole horror story of having to basically go in and redo every drum track because the way they sounded or whatever.
Right,
But
yeah.
yeah.
I actually gave this one a 7. I was very very impressed by this one. I gotta say, screw the first album. This
Yeah.
this this should have been their first album. I think
Yeah.
that they had done something totally different. And screw what Vinny says about Mark Slaughter. You know, Vinny's had a lot of bad things to say about Mark Slaughter, but no, I gotta agree with you guys. Much preferred his vocals to Fleischman.
Yep.
Maybe he was a dick in real life or something, and deserved what Vinny said, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Musically,
Yeah.
um, the potential I felt for the first album absolutely played out here. This album was way 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 better. Everything I liked about the first album was still there, but everything I didn't like about the first album was improved here. The production was great. You could clearly hear the bass. All the instruments stood out well. The guitar solos weren't too loud. Everybody did a great job executing their parts and getting a little flashy when it was appropriate.
Yeah.
The songs felt better written. They didn't feel like filler written around a wild guitar solo this time. Like you said, it felt like a band effort. Vinny felt a bit more reserved on the album too, and I don't mean that as a bad thing at all. For me personally, he had quite a few moments where he just absolutely let loose and shredded up a storm. But he also had a lot of like feely moments, especially on the ballads,
Yeah.
which was missing from the last album. I felt like he did an especially exceptional job at playing exactly what the song needed to continue moving it in the direction that it had established, rather than just the solo becoming a "Hey, everybody, look at me." You know?
All right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The only two complaints I can really think of were it started to feel like the album had gone on a little long, and I never did get out of that love-hate relationship with Mark's vocals, really. Again, that's not to take anything away from his skill. I will never, I couldn't dream of being able to hit some of those notes and having that crazy range.
Yeah.
Just sometimes, for me personally, went a little too hard into the stratosphere. Just for my personal taste. The closing track, awesome. Wasn't particularly memorable, but it was exciting and upbeat. And by the time it was done, I was excited enough to replay the first song again.
Nice.
Which is what you want in a closer. You want
Yep.
somebody to be like, "Oh, holy crap!" and flip the album over and start it again.
Yep.
Overall, I do really wish they had done another album or two, just
Yeah.
just to see if they would have continued to perfect and improve. If this is what they're able to do from the first album to the second album, what would a third album have sounded like? It's definitely an interesting thought.
Yeah, it's one of them things. It's like, I don't know, egos and drama and all that just got in the way. I mean,
I feel it.
Yeah.
I know. Sounds familiar, but
That it does.
so as we're getting the final tallies here, as always, of course, let us know your guys' votes. But had to remind myself here. So yeah, coming up next week, we're right back to Ace Frehley once again. Frehley's Comet, actually, with the second Sighting album. And then the week after that, we're on Kiss with the Chikara compilation. So very exciting. Get your votes in.
Yes.
Yeah. I've already forgot what Kiss sounds like at this point. I'm too concerned with sphincter muscles
Not again.
and shark rape.
So
No.
what do you guys think that with, let's say, Kiss adding, what, Parasite to the set list and Tears Are Falling? What do you guys think about that?
Definitely enjoy it, especially Parasite. I'm a big fan of Tears Are Falling, but I do feel like that's not really a surprise, I
Mhm.
guess, for them to play. Whereas Parasite, it feels like it's been a little while since they've done that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tears Are Falling is one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time, so I'm excited about that for sure.
Yeah. I was, I'm sure like many people, I was definitely hoping they were going to mix it up a little bit more, for this leg than what we saw last summer. Um, but I mean, hey, whatever. I'm happy to see it either way.
Yeah.
Um, from what I understand, though, they have started saying that they really want to bring, every member, at least for that very last show. They want to have every member there. So it looks like that's probably the only time it's ever going to happen is the very last show. We may finally see, other members up there with them, but because
Yeah,
it's
Right. Yep.
definitely yet to happen on any of these shows yet.
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it was Sam that told me. He was saying that he heard that they did I Just Wanna out of nowhere.
Really?
I'm looking up set lists now because that just seems like such a weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember when he told me that either. To look up, generally what would have been their most recent show. Maybe he's just nuts, but I'm pretty sure he told me. I am pretty sure he told me that they did. I Just
He's
Wanna.
like, yeah. He's like, yeah, back on the Revenge tour, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like that would be killer. That would make. Of course, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
that show in September, but that would make that special for me to hear a song that they just freaking never ever play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm not seeing it anywhere. Well, anyway.
And they're still doing that damn won't get fooled again thing during Look It Up, too, not to
Yeah,
mention.
they've been doing that for almost a freaking decade now, haven't
Almost as long as The Who.
they? Yeah, yeah.
Crazy, Crazy Nights is still in there. I wouldn't mind them dropping that, too, but
Yeah, yeah. I do wish. I mean, I completely understand because they've talked about this 100 times about how you can't really pull out a lot of deep cuts on these big tours because then somebody's going to be upset that they didn't play Do You Love Me or Shout It Out Loud or something. They got to make room for the hundreds of hits they have. But
yeah.
man, that's for their last tour. I was really hoping that they would pull out some weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, if anything, like, the very last show, maybe they'll do that, but it's like, you know,
Yeah.
do it for more than just that.
Right.
Yep.
A retrospective of your whole career would be nice. But how do you fit that all in? It's such a.
Yeah.
Even if they only did one song from each album, just, right off the bat, album number one, do we play Strutter or Deuce or Black Diamond? What an impossible choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we should do that. Like create a poll saying, if you could see Kiss do, a concert and they did one song off of each album, what would your song be off of, the first album, and then what song would you choose, and choose like the hits that they've played before.
Yeah.
And that would be cool to see what people would say and think. You know, would they choose Black Diamond, or would they choose Strutter, or would they choose Deuce? You know what I mean? Like, that would be cool to see everybody's opinions on that.
According to this, they last time they played I Just Wanna was December 20th, 1992.
Oh yeah, Sam's on
Wow.
coke then.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea because that kind of reminds me of something we did a long time ago on the old show. We kind of came up with our like dream set lists of the final show or whatever, and I think it'd be kind of fun to bring something like that back, especially now that we kind of have more, viewers and people
Right.
participating and whatnot, and
Yeah.
see what people would like to put together the ultimate set list once and for all.
Yeah, like maybe once we got like all the votes in for each album, then we could create a set list out of it and be like, okay, this is, the ultimate set list according
Yeah.
to everybody's votes. That would be so cool.
So if I remember right, I think we just picked like a song off of each album,
Yeah.
and that was the set. And then of course maybe break the rule like once, having them close with like Rock and Roll All Night or something, but
Yeah.
just something like that.
I think I've got all our tallies ready. If you guys are ready for that.
All right, yeah.
Okay, so this ended up with a 4.8 out of 10 average overall. So a little bit below the bar there, kind of disappointing. Nope, you know what? I'm not going to stand for it. The first album got 5.2. That's a
Oh
low
no!
track, guys. We got to change that. This
All
is
because the boys
so-
are gonna rock.
Yeah, this is so much better than the first album. I'm not happy with that at all. We're going to move on. All right.
Wait, are there any ties?
There is one tie, but it's for last place.
Okay, well, I could live with that.
Yeah. So tied for last place in 10th place, we've got Deeper and Deeper and Dirty Rhythm. In 9th place, Naughty Naughty. 8th place, Heavy Pettin'. 6th place, Breakout. Did I skip 7th place?
Yes.
Yeah.
In 7th place, somehow, Ecstasy.
Oh God, couldn't have at least hit the top one.
I know. 6th place, Breakout.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 5th place, Let Freedom Rock. In 4th place, Burn. And our top 3 for this week, Love Kills. 2nd place, That Time of Year. And in 1st place, Ashes to Ashes.
First place, first song.
So one of the ballads makes the top 3. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I question every one of you people's musical taste. Oh. Maybe I'm questioning mine because I don't even remember the album.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
Don't judge me.
Couple, I guess, breaking comments on the polls here as we're still on here. Into the Void, New York Groove. Ben Maynard says New York Groove might be Ace's only radio hit, but it's not even the best song on his solo album. Into the Void is a great song, and it's his.
Yeah.
Cliff Evans says New York Groove, Ace's best. So definitely back and forth on that. New York Groove is winning by a landslide right now.
Figured it probably would.
Very, very early. Them things have barely been up for a couple hours
Yeah.
at the time that we're talking about it here. So
Yeah.
Sure. Yep, a similar thing for Strutter and I. Strutter winning by a landslide at the moment. Ben Maynard says, I like the message behind the lyrics of I, but come on, Strutter.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, very interesting.
Yes.
No comments on the other one. 91% to 9% right now for Calling Dr. Love.
Wow. I didn't think it would go that bad. I hope some more people jump in on there.
64 votes already. That one has the most votes out of the other, all three right now.
Jeez. Wow.
All right. So that wraps up this episode. So once again, next week, back to Fraley's Comet, second sighting. Is that second album going to be better than the first or not as good? Is it going to be the opposite of this whole Vinnie Vincent thing? Get your votes in for that. And of course, Kiss Chikara. That's going to be a big episode. So get those votes in already while you're at it. Again, if anyone wants to come on and discuss all these with us and blab with us, let us know. Anyone's welcome. Feel free. We welcome it. All right. So until next week, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys then. Take care.